Morning, everyone. Ohayo gozaimasu. Thank you for your interest in the Japanese LPWAN market. My name is Britta. I'm working as an engineer at Elspina Veinz. Maybe you have never heard of Elspina Veinz before. We are a very small company, so I would like to briefly introduce us. We are offering consulting services and small-scale solutions for IoT and IT. And we are also the initiator of the TTN Takasaki, which is the city community, and we are also actively supporting the activities by TTN Japan. So you might be wondering, well, how is LPWAN and IoT actually doing in Japan? Yes, if you want to go with your solutions or devices onto the Japanese market. So currently, the adaptation of IoT is actually very similar to AI. There's about 18% of the companies that have installed already IoT solutions, and about 40% of the companies that were interviewed in the survey by the Japanese Association of Information Systems are actually in preparation or considering to implement IoT solutions. And overall, from 2020 to 2021, the usage of unlicensed LPWAN has increased by 27%. So I think it's quite a lucrative idea to join us on the Japanese market with your devices or software. The drivers for the IoT expansion in Japan is mainly the aging population. So Japan has a very low birth rate, and because of that, the population is actually shrinking in Japan. So in 2022, the population has decreased by 800,000 people. And that leaves the industry and the healthcare sector with a large gap in employees. So the Japanese government is particularly pushing automatization. And another big factor is the harsh environment in Japan. So you can experience earthquakes and tsunamis, as well as typhoons, which come with landslides and flooding. And besides that, they even have a lot of volcanoes. So volcanic eruptions is also a problem in Japan. So for this, they need monitoring devices and prevention systems. And the government is well aware that they need to push the digitalization, the automatization, and they have highly focused on the SDGs in the last couple of years. So they actually have, in 2021, started with the 6 STI plan, so that stands for Science, Technology, and Innovation Plan, which focuses on collaborative data, disaster prevention, and smart cities. To give you an idea what are popular fields of applications, so this is not a comprehensive list, this is just some examples. One part is, of course, as I mentioned, the disaster prevention, for example, water level monitoring of rivers, but also along the coastline. Then safety infrastructure monitoring, which I will present a little bit more in the next slide with an example. And of course, health and safety, because of the aging population. There's, especially in the rural communities, a lot of older adults that live alone. So there are NGOs and government organizations that want to monitor their activities to make sure that they are doing all right. Then a big part, because of the gap of in the workforce, is industrial applications, but also, so for example, construction site safety, but also equipment monitoring is very popular for IoT solutions. Then, as I said, the Japanese government want to push smart cities. However, until now, there are not many solutions there on really applied whole smart city applications. But they are improving. So, for example, Ota City in Gunma Prefecture, they are rolling out now what they call a smart city with LoRaWAN devices and gateways to monitor the temperatures in the city. because in the summer it gets very hot, and they even had deaths not only in the older population because of heat strokes, but also with high school and middle school students, because the situation because of global warming is getting so bad. Then another thing that is, of course, also a big topic in the European market is infrastructure monitoring, so smart meter market. However, I have to say that that market is already quite saturated with devices from Veinz, so it might be difficult to enter into that market, to be honest. Then, also popular, we've seen it here in the exhibition with many stands, is the agricultural applications. There is a lot of LoRaWAN devices that do water level monitoring for rice paddies. So maybe not something you find on the European market necessarily, these devices. However, the agricultural sector is dominated by small businesses because of the mountains in Japan. They can't make very big industrial fields and agricultural businesses. And most of those business owners are aging, so not necessarily interested in IoT solutions and digitalization. So one example from our company, what we did as an application with a LoRaWAN device is monitoring of floodgates. So Japan has around more than 10,000 manual floodgates along its coastline. To prevent the flood after the typhoons or even after tsunamis. And those are off-grid and managed by the local government. And actually, it's on volunteer network that is closing those gates in case of emergencies. Now, you can think, of course, maybe that volunteer is in that week on holiday. So how can you make sure that your floodgate is actually closed? That's a big problem for those local governments. And for that, we have a prototype for them, a LoRaWAN device, which is very easy to install and very small, so we can attach it to the floodgate without much effort. And it can run for a long time. And it's using the EM-ELST01 device, which is you can also find on the Wall of Fame today, if you want to have a look later on. So I would like to introduce a little bit more also the different parts of a typical IoT system. So I would first talk a little bit about which are popular wireless communications on the Japanese market, and then a bit more about edge devices on the Japanese market, and then one specific example for an application which is not very usual on the European market. When it comes to wireless communications in Japan, the most popular by far is LTE still. But when it comes to the unlicensed band, you can see below we have LoRaWAN, we have Sigfox, we have Altris, and we have Zeta. And LoRaWAN is the most popular among the unlicensed communications. And the reason why LoRaWAN might not be as popular as LTE is that there aren't actually that many LoRaWAN devices on the Japanese market. So if a customer comes to us and says, we would like to have an IoT solution, and we think, oh, we would like to make a LoRaWAN system for them, it would make sense, but often we struggle with finding devices on the market that are usable for Japan. So there is a market for you. If you have a device, come to us. The thing is, you would have to provide, of course, AS923 for us to be usable on the Japanese market. And the bigger hurdle for most device producers to enter the Japanese market is the GITECI certification for the radio module. That takes several months, maybe even a year, depending on how many radio modules you have on your device. And it's quite costly. So yes, you need to consider, is it really applicable for the Japanese market before you start the certification process? And another hurdle, if you want to get into the Japanese market, is the Japanese don't necessarily speak English. So, especially the engineers who might want to make the solutions, so you should be able to support a certain amount of technical support in Japanese, even if that's just the manuals and documents being offered in Japanese. In the images, in case you are not sure if your devices are certified with GITECI, you can see examples. So either on the radio module themselves, you can have that T and a long number behind it, or on the device on the outside, you can have that printed, which would indicate it's GITECI certified. Then I promised I want to talk about a specific application for the Japanese market. So if you're looking for an interface for your hardware, for your devices, for the Japanese market, there's a smartphone app which is called Line. So that's a messenger app, basically, like WhatsApp or Messenger. But it can do much, much more than WhatsApp. It has a pay system, but also you can make bot implementations. So you can actually make data visualization, alerts, even uplink. You could theoretically do over this application by setting up a bot in combination with, for example, a platform like AWS. So a colleague of mine, you see the examples, has made on the right side a dashboard, and on the left side we've made software where you can register your ThinkStack device and register a Google spreadsheet, and this software will write your data into the Google spreadsheet automatically. And this is nice because 88% of the population uses Line, so nearly everyone in Japan can use this interface. The Japanese are really, really familiar with using this application. So now you're wondering maybe, okay, when I want to go to the Japanese market, where should I start? If you want to sell a lot of software, a lot of devices, you will probably want to target large corporations or governmental organizations. However, those often have very slow decision-making processes because of their very strict hierarchy and the Japanese feeling of, I can never do a decision alone. There has always have to be other higher-ups that also agree with me. Otherwise, I don't make that decision. So, however, they are conservative, so they most likely will not change to a different hardware or software. But once you get those clients, they will stay with you for a long time. And they really prefer quality. So if they also expect that if they expect quality, the price will be higher. So if you have a quality product, I recommend you to enter the market with a good price. If you put the price too low, the Japanese might think that your quality is low as well. So be careful there. And yes, sadly, the Japanese clients often prefer local products and stay in their Japanese bubble, so because they have a very strong trust in their local qualities. So you really have to convince them of your quality in your products. And the other thing why they stay in their Japanese bubble is because of the Japanese tech support that Japanese producers can offer them. So an option to enter and convince them could be to find Japanese partners, especially startups or small or medium-sized companies. Tokyo, as well as the Kansai area, Osaka, Kyoto, as well as Fukuoka, have a very flourishing startup scene, and the government is doing a lot of activities to get international startups to come to Japan. And these startups, whether they are Japanese or international, have then the English skills as well as the Japanese skills to help you with your technical support in Japan. And often these founders or employees, the Japanese ones, are originally from larger corporations. So they often come with a very good network to get you to those larger clients later on. So I would really recommend you to look in what applications you want to go, and then look into the startup market or small company market in Japan and find partners to connect to. And with this, I would like to close my presentation. And yes, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn or on our website. And if you want to have more information, for example, about the certification processes or the Japanese market in general. Thank you very much.